You know I like to take a ride. Cold beer on a Friday night. A pair of jeans.
Hi everyone, this is Scott over at Players Bench. We're in the back of the Denver Superstore at Bauer Mavic Training Facility, and we're here to try out the new Reebok 20K skates.
Feel the touch of a precious child. Know a mother's love.
So I was just out on the ice with the 20K skate, and let's kind of just go over some of the materials that were used for this. It has a metal mesh reinforced quarter, and one thing that's also kind of interesting this year is what they did is on the back of the skate where the heel is, they did a 90-degree composite weave on the back, and then up here on top on the ankle they did a 45-degree weave. The sole purpose of why they did a 90-degree on the back was so they wanted as stiff as it could be so your heel locks in place while having the 45-degree up on your ankle so you have that flexibility and that mobility. Protection-wise, the skate is it's a really stiff boot because it's a composite boot. It's harder and it has the metal mesh reinforced quarter, which means that it's going to be really good for blocking shots. You're going to take a lot of pucks off there, so if you are a guy that likes to block shots, you know, your PK guys lay in front of shots, your defensemen that also like to block shots, this is going to be made for that. Also too, it has a really thick felt tongue. So it is what it's called a Pro Felt EPE foam tongue. Basically means that it's a Pro Felt thick tongue here on the inside, and then on the outside it has EPE foam for lace bite. Also too, on the inside of the skate it has Chlorino liner on the inside for comfort. The 20K skate is the evolutionary skate from the 11K. The things that got brought over from the 11K to the 20K are the fit, just like the 11K, the 20K is made for the widest foot out there. The lace lock, the pump technology, the holder, the steel, the seamless heel, which means that they don't seam it here on the heel, they seam it here on the side, and that is made in Canada. So the one thing that was really cool that they talked about the 20K from the 11K is that it's the only skate ever where they've walked into the NHL locker room, gave a guy who wore the 11K, gave him a 20K in the same exact size, and it fit exactly the same. It's the first time that's ever been done. So with the lace lock, the whole reason why they have the lace lock is because players were complaining that when they lace the bottom of their skates and they get right there to the middle to try and relace it again, it would just lose all the tightness. So the whole point behind the lace lock is when you're lacing up your skates, you crank that tight, you roll it over, you lock it, and then you don't have to worry about the bottom part of your skates. So you can just go back up onto the top, so you'll get that tightness all the way through. So the whole point for the pump is to fill the gaps between the skate and your ankle. Sometimes when guys do fit into skates, it's not all going to fit the same. So if you put on this skate and you feel your ankle kind of floating in there a little bit, you can do a couple of pumps in there and it'll kind of take away that air. Some of the improvements that they made from the technology from the 11K to the 20K, the pump is exactly the same, except for what they did was they moved it back and they brought it closer to the skate. Some players were just saying that it was too bulky and it was kind of getting in the way. Another thing that is also new is it's a dual liner. They have here in the back, it's a tacky Nash heel, which basically all it does is when your foot gets wet, it's going to want to lock your heel in there. And then also what it has is it's the Chlorino liner, which is just there for durability, comfort, and it's also in there for, it stays dry. Another thing that's also interesting about the 20K is the Tendon Guard. It's a rubber Tendon Guard. So basically, you can do whatever you want to this Tendon Guard, and it's not going to do anything. So I can sit here and fold it all the way over and let it pop back, and it's going to go right back to the same spot. The reason being why they did this is because they wanted it for mobility and range of motion. With the skate, there are three things that are combined to give it what the performance that it needs. The tongue, the Tendon Guard, and the stiff boot are what enable you to have more of a lateral movement instead of the side to side. So the lateral movement is where you get your power from. So you're going to burst laterally this way instead of folding it this way. My overall review of the 20K skate is that it's definitely a stiff skate. The whole point is to really make it stiff so your foot doesn't move. My foot didn't move, I wasn't getting the side-to-side action, and I was getting that lateral feel. Since it is such a stiff skate and you're supposed to get that lateral feel, I did notice when I wasn't being so aggressive in my turns, my foot would want to keep going straight. But when I did want to get aggressive in my turns, it was just like butter. It just went all the way through. I also did notice it in my backward skating, that when I really cut in to make that turn, it would make it, but when I wasn't as aggressive in my skating backwards, it would want to keep going with the direction that I was going. So when I mean aggressively skating, I mean I'm skating hard, pushing hard, and I'm striding hard. The skate has a lot of agility and mobility when I'm really aggressively skating. But when you kind of slow it down and really start to glide, you can feel it's a stiff skate. Another thing too is the Nash, the dual lining in the back. So the Nash on the back, when it does get wet, it gets grippy and your heel does lock in there. I did notice my ankle did float a little bit in here, but all I did was give it a few pumps and I was good to go. I do like the tongue. It's a very comfortable tongue. It did help me with my lace bite.
May freedom forever fly. Let it ring.